My name is Kenneth Bailey, and this is Another City is Possible. Where we ask, what does it mean to create more just and vibrant cities?
Mending everything, not even just divides.
Now living in walkable places is a privilege, and it shouldn't be.
It starts from the point of listening.
I really feel that this is going to happen on a local level and a regional level.
Engaging with people who are different and with ideas that are different so they can empathize.
In this episode, we talk with Jeanne van Heeswijk. Jeanne was very excited about how particularly artists alongside communities can stand up to the global movement around neoliberal urbanism, and it was quite enjoyable. And now let's take a listen. Welcome to Another City is Possible. We are being hosted here by Circus of Life as part of Counterpublic, and we're discussing urban divides with some of the guests and curators that were lucky enough to be invited to this auspicious occasion. And today I get to spend a few minutes with Jeanne van Heeswijk. And we're going to spend a little time talking about urban divides and the role that public art and socially engaged practice might play in addressing divides. And so first, I'd like for you to tell us a little bit about yourself. I know you're not from St. Louis. We talked about that earlier. So tell us about where you're from and what interests you about cities.
So I am originally from the south of the Netherlands, but I've been living and working in Rotterdam for the last 35 years. I'm an artist by trade, but I work quite often or most of my time in very long durational projects with groups of people and communities on site, trying to imagine a city that's more just, that can hold more of our stories, more of our narratives, more of our desires. And I predominantly work in Rotterdam South, which we call our global South. So Rotterdam has a divide, which is the river, where it has the center and the north on the one side, and Rotterdam South on the other side, which is a super large part of the city, actually almost a large part of the city, but it's also the part of the city that's often talked about in very negative terms. And I work there now for many years, trying to create a form of self-governance and telling other stories about our skills, about what we can hold together, about how we imagine the future of the city to be planned.
I see why people keep saying we should talk. I'm like, oh, she's our people. So this divide you're talking about between North and South Rotterdam, is that spatial divide, does it also function in symbolic and other ways for the city as well?
I think the river has always been seen as a thing you didn't cross.
Got it.
And then at some point there was a bridge made from the one side, from the center and the north towards the south, and that sort of like passed one of the peninsulas that we call our Manhattan on the Maas. The Maas is the name of our river, where the first high-rises were built and where the first waves of gentrification of the south started to happen. And I work in an area for many years now that's called the Afrikaner Wijk district. It bears names to our colonial past. Like, you know, we have streets like Paul Kruger Street and Pretoria Laan. But it's the area that is actually closest to the landing of the bridge. Because it's one of the biggest markets of Rotterdam and of the Netherlands. And it's an area that's under huge pressure of this desire for the city center and the north to sort of like move over. So it's the first place of the landing of where the gentrification is happening. And I say we are a group of many peoples from that area and all the adjacent neighborhoods that are trying to fight that wave that is coming. Because we always say, like, you know, we are not just statistics. statistics that says we have the highest unemployment, we have the biggest migrant input, we have the most criminal incidents happening. You know, the area sort of ticks all boxes on all bad lists, but it's not that. It's just a very vibrant and active area with a lot of people wanting to not only survive but also thrive, building a future for them and their people and their children. And I think what we from the beginning have been saying, you know, we cannot change this wave of the city growing towards the south happening, but we also don't want to be the gutter of this development. So how can we think about development without displacement? How can the development that is going to happen also include us, and what is needed for that? And so over the last 10 plus years we have been organizing on the scale of a neighborhood. We call it the neighborhood cooperative. So we didn't organize a cooperative around work or around housing, but on the scale of the neighborhood, like almost trying to create an urban union of people to actually resist the gentrification coming and resist the planning proposed to the area, because if it's not with us, it has to be without us. So
I see why.
yeah, and I think we are, I don't know if we are successful, because I don't believe in that like terminology of success, but we are by now a group of 80 people working in the cooperative towards like holding a core in the neighborhood that actually actively opposes some of the legislation that is happening, some of the policy that is made for us, and by actively, you know, talking about why that policy or that master plan is not for us.
Wow, that's fantastic.
So,
What particular divide are you experiencing right now in Rotterdam that personally gets you gander or personally upsets you?
I think like everywhere, unfortunately in the world, we see a rise of right-wing politics and policy, and with that we see the sort of like narrative of certain areas to be bad areas. We see narratives of exclusion. We see attempts to whitewash certain areas. We see attempts to almost not longer talk about gentrification, but sometimes I call it cleansification.
Wow.
Like we see policies that white clean areas of unwanted behavior and ideas, and I think that is very, very dangerous.
Why?
Because I think that this only way that sometimes cities are planned at the moment through neoliberal capitalism will be the death to all of us. So I think we try to fight. We try to say that Rotterdam South is on its own journey and its own trajectory of development, of growth, which is a development and a growth that needs to be inclusive of everybody there, but not only inclusive in okay, everybody can have a say, but everybody should have a spot on the table, not for input, like for consultation,
Right.
but for co-planning and co-organizing the future that we want to see. And I always like Walida and Marisha's saying when she say we can't build what we can't imagine.
Right.
So I think that's what we need to do. We need to start ASP, if we're already not doing it, but we need to do it more urgently, more rapidly. We need to start imagining how we want our places to look like, how we need them to feel, how we need them to connect.
I see why they were like, you got to talk to.
Sorry, I'm maybe spilling the guts, but it's like, you know. But yeah, so I think it's super important. And I said, like, what we try to do is to organize on the scale of a neighborhood and to create processes in which we can work together, but also ideate together and build forward together. And one of the latest things that we have been doing with the co-op is that, we also notice that a lot of times our neighborhoods are visited by researchers. Every group of people researches us, they research our health, they research our collectivity, our crime, our, you know, all of the kind of things. So we are so fed up by all of being sort of like under a microscope of the powers to be, about thinking about how to not or to include our livelihoods. And so we basically started our own consultancy agency. And we say, like, you know, if you want to speak to us, you have to hire us. You can hire McKinsey, you can hire us also. We can speak about our neighborhood, we can speak about our lived experience, we can speak about our future hopes, we can speak about future dream. You don't have to research us. We know how to ask the questions, and we do all kind of things with that. Like, you would demand them to pay us proper research fees if they want to work with us. But we also, and that's nice because here it's called Counterpublic, but we do counter lecturing also. So like there's every year there is the big Rotterdam lecture, which is always given to a professor on an institution that speaks about the future of the city. So we organize our own Rotterdam lecture, where the people of our community prepare with each other and among each other, and they give a lecture about the future of the city they see, the way they see the urban problems, the way they feel change can be made. And I think for me it's extremely important to say that if we want to hold a future in common, we have to also start creating spaces in which these conversations can be held on a basis of equity, on a base of shared responsibility, and not on like, let me come and tell you how you can participate in the future of our city. Like, no, you know.
I love it. I love it. So one of the cases we're trying to make is that there's a role for art, socially engaged art, social practice, whatever name you want to give it, to playing a role in sort of dealing with spatial injustice or advocating for spatial justice or the fighting the good fight. How have you seen social practice do that, and how would you like to see it do it better?
I think, as I said before, like if we can't build what we can't imagine, then I think the imagination is of essence. Besides the social, the political and the economical, the imagination, I think, is one of the most powerful tools to understand the place where you are and how you might want to move forward. So imagination is a hyper important tool through storytelling, through collective design, through all these kind of different ways. So I think it is important. One of the more important elements for the future of the city, or our future in general. I think the problem is, of course, everything that gets over applied, like sort of like commissioned and then becomes a coloring in exercise, is a problem. And I think a lot of like social engaged practice also is seen as a kind of like, you know, commissioned opportunity. And I feel that for me, imagination is so core of our resistance and of our survival that I don't think it can be a commissioned opportunity.
Then how would it need to be arranged in order for it to work properly in your eyes? If we took it out of, like, what would it look like and feel like if we took it out of the commissioned opportunity framework?
I think it needs a organizing on the ground and a mobilization that makes us understand that, you know, if we don't do it together, it's not going to happen. And that imagination is not one thing for the happy few, but that it's something that we need to start doing together. So I think, like, the way that I would describe it is that we should train for the not yet, for the yet to come, for the still to imagine, for everything that we need. So I think we need to create training grounds in which we can start building towards this imaginary. And I feel that is important. And if there's people that want to, you know, assist with that, with money, with skills, good. But I think we need to drive that one.
What advice would you like to give to artists and people trying to do this work in the States around using the arts towards these kinds of endeavors around spatial justice, or in healing or dealing with divides in general? in the United States, if any advice?
I think you have, of course, an amazing legacy here of people whose words, whose songs, whose art, their poetry has been supporting the struggle. And I think that's what we should do. We should let our capabilities and our skill set assist a collective imagination for a more just future. And I think don't be faint at heart. Is that a way of saying it in here? Because our cities are not simple houses and streets. They have emotions, and those emotions reside. And those emotions are also non-linear. So they have past, present, and future in them. So also be ready to work with that emotional tissue of a place in order to build forward together. So don't make it about an exercise about form, but make it an exercise about lived experiences, past, present, and future. And I think, to me, that is very important. So go out there, work with people, speak to people, be with people, but not in an instrumentalizing way, but because you also truly believe that this is exactly what we need to do right now, is we have to reroute our capabilities to imagine our futures. And to me, that's what I call radicalizing the local. It's one of the tropes that I quite often say. To me, radicalizing the local literally means to make emergent all these different emotional conditions that reside in the site and to reroute them into stronger networks that can grow urban unions for a future that can hold more of us. And I would say go out there, do it. But also don't see it as like a one-time opportunity or a one-time commission, but as a lifetime's work.
And what would solidarity look like across cities or across lines of the nation state around this kind of work in your mind?
I think what solidarity could mean is that we build stronger federative networks, that we all know that we operate in our local vicinities because we need to do the work there, but to also understand that we are connected, that our struggles are connected, and that we are not there to judge each other on how we exactly do it, but to share across territories in a federative configuration. Because I think that's important, because if we build this network of netted communities, we are very, very strong. So I would say let's build up, let's meet more, let's talk more, like you're trying to do here. Let's just, share experiences, and not in a competition, but in a way of what can we learn, how can we strengthen what we do not know yet, So, yeah.
Amazing.
Always welcome in Rotterdam.
Absolutely. Cheers. Thank you so much. Thanks for listening. We recorded these conversations at Counterpublic's Circus of Life on November 3rd, 2025, and the theme for these conversations was Bridging Divides. I'd like to thank Counterpublic and Circus of Life for having us do this series of Another City is Possible. I'd like to give a special thanks to Crystal B for helping us with this series. And to listen, you can go to Design Studio for Social Intervention, ds4si.org, and counterpublic.org.